My name is Esther McClendon, and for my famous aviator, I decided to talk about Katherine Stinson. So let's begin. So, who was she? She was born on February 14th, 1893 in Alabama, and she was raised primarily by her independent mother after her mother and father separated. And in her early years, she had an absolutely incredible musical talent, and she actually originally wanted to become a famous concert pianist in Europe. And she ended up getting her license at the age of 19, just 3 weeks after Harriet Quimby's tragic death. And she was the fourth woman to hold a pilot license in the US. And she was nicknamed the Flying School Girl because of how young she was and because she had just gotten out of high school. So her aviation career. So in her early aviation career, she was the first woman to do loop-the-loop. So she would basically turn upside down in a plane and do a figure 8. And she really enjoyed doing stunts like these. She was also the first female skywriter, and in California, she actually did an air show where she wrote out CAL in the sky to short for California, and everyone was really in awe of it. She also she became so well known and widespread that the president of China actually invited her to where he resided, and he gave her a silver loving cup, is what it was called, and it was a sign of prestige, basically. So it meant that she was in his favor, and a diamond pin. And so later, just like 1 or 2 years later, she started a flying school in San Antonio, Texas, with her younger brother, and it became super, super successful, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And she even helped the government recruit pilots before World War I. Some of it was mainly because, if a woman can fly, men have no issues whatsoever, because men are better at everything. So if a woman can do it, you can too. So they very much put her down, in order to recruit pilots, which was a bit sad. But she did help with that. And then on December 11th, 1917, she made the longest nonstop flight, which was 610 miles, which back then was very, very impressive, from San Diego to San Francisco. And something funny about it is she actually knitted while she was flying. So she was just, with her needles, in her cockpit, just enjoying her day. And yeah. And then she was also known after this impressive feat as the Empress of the American Skies. She was given that honorary title. So during World War I, going back to how she helped recruit pilots, in her school, she actually trained a lot of the pilots that went into World War I. So she was literally their flight instructor. And so she helped bring a lot of pilots directly into the war by teaching them. And she actually, when World War I first started, she wanted to join the military, but she was denied by the government. So instead, she tried to help out in a bunch of different ways, including helping the Red Cross drive by flying all the way from Buffalo to Washington. And she flew Anna Denny after just 5 minutes of practice, all the way from Buffalo to Washington. And she even flew a couple other stretches from one big city to the next for the Red Cross. And she delivered a $2 million check to the Red Cross on one of those stretches. And so she was also the first woman to get paid carrying mail during the World War. And she actually, closer to the end of World War I, she went to France to become an ambulance driver because she was so adamant about helping the war effort as much as she could. And so she was willing to go overseas and help by like rescuing soldiers and just becoming a better part, like doing her part, I guess you can say, for her country and also the countries that were helping her side. And so she actually, while she was working as an ambulance driver, she became ill in France and actually had to stay on bed rest in a hospital for over a year. So she was in France for a long time, just like sitting in the bed and not being able to do anything. So in her later years, which basically at 25 and over, so she went back to New Mexico and married Judge Miguel Otero Jr., who was also a World War I flying ace, and they got married right after World War I. And they both decided unanimously to not fly anymore, like during their lives. Just from bad experiences, and then also like there were a lot of restrictions coming up to where like they thought, oh, it's not as fun anymore. And so she ultimately became a very successful domestic architect, and she has a whole career in that for the rest of her life. And in 1940, she actually went to the General Federation of Women's Club, and she got an award from them for her efforts and her contribution to aviation. And something very important to note, like something that really stood out to me when researching Katherine Stinson, is that all throughout, like even when she was put down for being a woman, you know, like she was so proud of her femininity, and she would talk about, you know, like on her flights, like thinking about, oh, what's the next like big like dress trend, or like, you know, oh, I really want a dress catalog now. And like she both like loved aviation, but she didn't let that get in the way of her feeling her true femininity and not letting the world that was very much male dominated let that take away from her femininity. So there's a lot of strength in her for that, and I really think that that's an incredible feat, especially in a time such as this. And I just wanted to leave y'all with this quote from her. And she said, "I have found that women are not only just as much interested as men are in flying, but apparently have less fear than the men have. At least more women than men asked to go up with me, and when I took them up, they seemed to enjoy it." So yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed my presentation. Here are my references, and I hope you all have a good day.